play.
Hello, and yes, welcome to the last ball drops after the first day of the Australian Open, and it's myself and tennis ranter himself, James. How are we doing?
I am doing good. United's drew, so a little bit more like subdued on that regard. But
yeah,
we've had a bit of a brilliant. I'd say brilliant. It's been good to get the Grand Slam season, or like the first Grand Slam of the year, kicked off. I may not feel a little bit slightly tired, waking up quite early this morning. At least try and catch something in before all of it. It usually shuts up shop around about midday, 1 o'clock our time.
Yeah. I was about to say Happy New Year to you, but we're on the 14th of January. I take it you're in the school of thought that that's far too late to say Happy New Year to somebody.
I mean, technically, you could say Happy New Year up until the point of the 31st of December of that year, because it's still in that new year. But yeah,
if you want
usually people say 7 days up until 7 days after, but it is, Happy New Year anyway. I mean, there are other New Years coming up, the Chinese New Year and whatnot.
Good point.
So there's plenty of time to be able to say Happy New Year to folks and individuals and make that classic dad joke, which is, I'll see you next year.
Yeah. I think I may have used that myself. So yeah, we are at the first Grand Slam of the year. I was talking to Damien yesterday on ATP Weekly, and I said, it's probably one of the only sports that, we say Happy New Year, and we see in the new year. And we have probably one of the biggest events of the year within a couple of weeks. Not a lot of prep. Of course, they will be doing the prep in the December, I'm sure. But yeah, so
I completely agree in terms of it. Still just feels bizarre that, we start the tennis season and literally 2 weeks in, here's a Grand Slam, one of the 4 biggest events on the calendar.
Yeah. And it's so bizarre. It's so bizarre because, this year particularly, the top players, I mean, the majority of the top players who are, favourites for the event, especially on the men's side, didn't really play any kind of warm-up matches. Alcaraz didn't, Sinner didn't, Djokovic played, I think, one in the United Cup or a couple in the United Cup. But yeah, it's just like, no pre-season for these guys, no friendlies. It's just get into it and see how we go.
Sounds good. Good morning, good morning, Matt. Well,
yeah, exactly. Hi, Ghost. We will come to your favourite Rublev very shortly. But yeah, pretty eventful day. How do you work your Australian Open schedule, James? Personally, I said I'm going to stay up for this and managed to get.
I'm more of I can't stay up too late. It's in me. I can't try and power through asleep. I'm more somebody who could get up early and just take the hit of being a little bit groggy for the first couple of hours or so, and then getting into the sort of swing of things there. So usually I get up UK time around about between 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning, just to be able to catch sort of the back end of the day matches and then all of the night session matches. Instead of, I know, seeing other people that try and stay up until 3-4 o'clock in the morning to see some of the beginning of the J matches, but then they end up missing all the sort of maybe the beginning of the night sessions with that sort of way of working.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, I try to see it through. I'll maybe catch the first couple of sets of Sinner, start off with Arnaldi, and the Arnaldi match started, and 15 minutes in, I was like, I need to go to bed. I'm up early with the wee guy. I've got a 16-month-old who has no care about time or the Australian Open right now. So he didn't care that when he was trying to wake me at 7:30 this morning. So yeah, caught a bit of the Arnaldi, but literally the first 2 matches. And then the first thing when I do turn on my television at about 7:30, 7:45 is that Rublev Wild match, 5-setter. So I always love it when you come into you wake up, the match has started about 4 hours previous and it's still ongoing, so you can catch the kind of business then. Did you manage to see any of that one?
Yeah, so I got up just as I think Rublev saw off the second set, and then it was going into a third. And then at that point, I was like, okay, this looks like just a standard, run through for a top 10 seeded player. But no, Seabox Wild or however you want to pronounce his name.
Yeah, I was trying to go onto the ATP website previous to coming on this tonight to make sure that they offer that fact that you can click the link and it allows you to see how they pronounce it themselves. I didn't have time. I didn't want to butcher it. So we'll go with Wild, I think.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, big credit to the Thiago. I call him Thiago just to make sure we don't so we cover all bases. So Thiago did incredibly well to keep his head in that situation. You know, losing the first 2 sets, they were only by 1 break, which probably actually gave him a little bit more confidence going into the third set. But no, he basically just decided, you know what? I'm turning this into the Thiago show. I'm gonna hit winners where I want to hit winners. I'm gonna hit it how I want to hit it, and that in the end absolutely blew the mind of Rublev in this match. And that kind of how it happened in sets 3 and 4, where this sort of like, you know, no holds back, spray it wherever you want to put it approach just completely befuddled Rublev. And you know, you could see throughout the match that sort of old Rublev of, you know, that Rublev of old, effectively, of wanting to really absolutely lose it if he's not winning certain points, really shone. That really came out in quite a strong capacity. There was also a lot of situations across, you know, all of the last 3 sets of 3, 4, and 5, where, you know, Rublev would get some break point opportunities on Thiago's serve, and yet Thiago would just find some absolute worldies to try and stop him. You know, like I said, as you can see, Rublev went absolutely out of his mind, and it felt quite right that by the end of that match that it went to its 5th set tiebreaker, and to a degree at one point I believe Thiago was 4-2 up, or
3-0 and 4-2. He went to the changeover, the first changeover. 4-2 up. But you know, credit to Andre. Ghost's favourite. You know, showed that battling quality. You know, he's talked about anger issues quite recently, you know, in terms of how he does struggle in his work with his team. And I wonder, you know, if there was any element. I know it was on the edge of boiling. But previous, you know, you've seen him batter, you know, rackets, punch his knees, hit the rackets off his knees. To me, you know, he didn't really hit the panic button, even though he was down in that breaker. I caught it on. I turned it on, so I was a bit later than you. I turned it on when it was 5-all. I think Wild, or I may have got this wrong. It might have been 6-5 to Rublev at the time, but I think Wild was love 40 down, and then he just, you know, played some brilliant nuclear tennis. You know, some of the ground strokes he was putting away, and I was just like, I think I missed an absolute classic here. You know, these two are just hitting it winner after winner. And then the breaker, you know, he had his chances. He never really, for me, I never firmly believed he was going to see it out. I don't know why. But yeah, I just, as soon as Rublev, I think, closed the gap to, I think, 5-all, you know, the writing was on the wall. Yeah,
it was, you know, it's one of those matches where, you know, when the opponent's 2 sets still up down, it's just a case of they're ready and they've got nothing to lose. And when you got a player and you kept playing against somebody with that sort of mindset, it can be incredibly dangerous. I mean, I think I remember, what was it? There was a match 2 years ago. It was between Berrettini and Monfils. Berrettini went 2 sets to love up. And then Monfils just played absolutely brilliant, you know, show-stopping tennis for 2 sets. Really looked like it was good for the next 2 sets. Really looked like he was going to take it. But then that pressure of like, oh, I've got something to lose now, then started to play out in how Monfils played. And then Berrettini was able to take the 5th set. That kind of what felt like what happened also in the tiebreaker, where even though that Zivot's Wield was very, you know, it was a case of like they were both even all the way through up until the tiebreaker. He was always the person serving second, so he always felt like he was still chasing. So he kind of had that mini thing of going, well, I'm still behind. Let's still hit for the lines and see what happens. And up until you say that point in getting into the tiebreaker, and then when he got to like 6-4 or whatnot, then it was like, oh, I've actually now got something to lose. I'm in the lead. I'm 4 points away from being able to see off this big victory. Then the that happens. Now, unfortunately, thanks to Eurosport and Discovery Plus, thank you, they decided to cut to a blank screen for the entirety of the rest of the match for the last sort of 4 points that Rublev won. So I have no idea what happened in those 4 points.
Did I watch the end? I thought I'd watched the end. Maybe I was changing the wee guy or something. I don't know. I thought I'd watched the end, but yeah, it might have happened because I was
watching it. It was getting really into it, and then all of a sudden, white screen and this sort of blue like paint lines start to go across, and a bit of funky music they like to play. And I was like, "Why are you doing this, Eurosport? It's not over. We are literally at the cusp." I think because it went 7-5 or something like that, or somebody hit 7, and they thought, "Oh, it's over now. Click off this match." Like, no, still play, still good. Let's keep with this. Sorry, carry on.
No, we'll come on to the Eurosport coverage, because I did have a question I wanted to pose with you for the next match, and probably the talking point around Melbourne Park tonight or last night then would have been that Djokovic match. Prižmić comes in as an 18-year-old. Djokovic commented after the win, he was double his age. 18-year-old, never played a Grand Slam match, and early on, it didn't look as if he had too many weapons. He was maybe a little bit overawed by the occasion. Early on, again, he had the trainer out. I think it was after only 4 or 5 games. And you were just thinking, this is going to be a stroll for Novak. It didn't quite turn out that way. I take it you managed to get that one in.
Yeah, it was. Well, when Djokovic, I think, went like a break up in the first set, I kind of went like, here we go, 3-setter, Djokovic little coronation party. Guy's done really well to get to the main draw from qualifying, especially as an 18-year-old. But the occasion's overawing him. So I went over to the Magna Linette match just because I was like, I'll see how Caroline Wozniacki's doing, and then watched like a bit of that. Then the whole thing with Wozniacki with Linette retiring, we'll go on to that later on. Came back, and all of a sudden, Prižmić had just broken him in the second set, and I was like, whoa, what is happening here? This kid's really come back into it. And yeah, I mean, God, the guy was good, Prižmić. I mean, he was finding his lines, hitting them deep. Whenever his defensive work was brilliant. It was almost as though he was out Djokovic at points in terms of how many the balls he could get back from both ends of the court, in terms of both corners of the court. He was able to use the drop shot really well. He brought Novak forward when he needed to. Was able to really apply the pressures at points in which you'd expect. And this kid, I remember hearing a lot about him in the juniors. I know he won, I think it was Junior Roland Garros last year, and that was his last junior tournament. And, for him to be 18 and to already be ranked to the world's 200 means he had a brilliant career for the futures and starting to go into the challengers. I remember watching him against Jack Draper in an indoor challenger in autumn last year, and it was a 3-hour epic. It took Jack 3 hours to be able to beat the guy. So it was like this kid knows how to play, and this kid has an absolutely bright future. And you could see that by how Novak, basically told him, right, you're going to go out to the center, after the match had finished, you're going to go out to the center of the court and you're going to clap the fans, because what the performance you placed there is that you put yourself on the map. And you got this sort of classic line, I know it's a sort of an overarching thread of actually both matches that took place on center court today or on Rod Laver Arena, where when you're a young kid who's qualified, over two things are going to happen on that big stage. You're either going to play your absolute best tennis and show the world what you've got, or you're going to have an absolute stinker. And both happened, unfortunately, in that night session. And Prižmić showed us absolutely what he can do. Yeah, and unfortunately, Sneijder completely capitulated. But
No, and it was an enthralling watch. He's even got the extended grunt winner. I think it was 2-1 in the second set, which he would go on to win in the tie break. An unbelievable cross-court passing shot, and maybe taking that off Djokovic. He likes an extended grunt winner. And Prižmić, just maybe a bit in the Djokovic mold. Do you think, has he been reared from the tennis landscape in the mold of Djokovic?
I think he has. I know that they were saying on the Eurosport comms beforehand that he absolutely idolizes Djokovic. I think he actually went to his academy for a little bit when he was very much younger, and that he actually follows the same diet as Djokovic as well. This sort of plant and nature based diet. The one thing we can never really underestimate is how big a star Djokovic is, not only in Serbia but that entire area of the Balkans, where everybody, the Croats, Bosnians, the whole job lot, absolutely adore Djokovic with every sort of fibre of their being. And the fact that I'm surprised he was still able to, even with that added pressure, the fact that not only are you playing one of the greats of the game, you are also playing your idol that you've watched as you've grown up, to still come out on a foreign arena in front of 15,000 fans and go, do you know what? I'm going to make a name of myself. Again, it's just out of this world what this kid's going to be able to do, going forward.
Yeah, definitely one to keep an eye on for the future. And if you didn't know the name Prižmić before today, I'm sure you will be keeping an eye out for his results, certainly in 2024. Final thing on the Djokovic match, and then we will move on to the Sabalenka match that you referred to, because we haven't touched on the ladies' side yet. What was your thoughts on Kyrgios and his co-com's debut for the Djokovic match?
Good question. I mean, I generally, when it came to the content that he was saying, I felt he was kind of good. I mean, he's a current player, which means that he's able to give current insights in the mindset of current players and what is happening on the field. And he was able to pick up, what the key bits that were really good about what Djokovic was doing, what Prižmić was doing. So from that perspective, I felt he was good. The only issues I had with him were more technical. His microphone was way too close to his mouth, so I could hear him breathing constantly. I'm sorry, Eurosport, but you're a multi-million-pound company that operates across the entirety of Europe. You've got to be able to tell him, no, you need to move the microphone away from your mouth. We don't want to hear your lung movements.
Yeah.
And secondly, there was something they had an issue with their audio. I think it was both for Nick Lester and also for Kyrgios.
So they were ahead.
They were ahead. So I was hearing before the shot was even happening. I'm like, I don't want this. Move the audio back. Come on. Just move it back so I don't feel as though I know what's happening before I see it.
Well, I'm glad that wasn't so that. No, I'm glad that wasn't only me, because that was like, as soon as you heard Kyrgios going, you just knew that something was about to happen, and then subsequently one of the players would netball it or hit an unbelievable winner. So I thought it was obviously different to hear Kyrgios, and he does give an insight into how to play Djokovic and. So I thought it was interesting. I know he gets slammed and he has his haters, but I don't think he did a terrible job in terms of the content and the words that he was saying. But yeah, let's move on to Sabalenka. I wasn't getting away with watching 3 tennis matches in a row from the other half. So I had it on the background while I did other tasks and chores. But yeah, other than maybe a couple of moments early on, I think it was as the scoreline suggests. A bit of a breeze for Sabalenka.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think it was a situation where the Schneider was just overruled with the situation. I also think the time they came onto court didn't help, and more questions are going to be asked about late finishes and matches starting at silly o'clock. I mean, I think in Melbourne the match started. I believe it was something like 10:30, 11:30. I think it was about 11 o'clock.
I was thinking that when I saw the scoreline, I was like, that was lucky that she's won it 0-1 because
53 minutes. I mean, it kind of saves Craig Tiley's neck a little bit.
Exactly, because then the organisers, after all this, hoo-ha about, we've worked with the WTA and the ATP to make sure that the schedules will be sorted. You'll not have any more late finishes. And then on day one, if that was a 3-setter that had went for 2 or 3 hours, you're talking early hours again, and then all the criticism comes back.
Yeah, they say that was a 3-hour match. You're finishing that at 3 o'clock in the morning, and that'd be horrible for both those two players. I mean, yeah, granted, it's they got 2 days afterwards, but one of the key points, and sorry to go away from the match, but one of the key reasons why we have this Sunday start, claimed by Craig Tiley, is to prevent those late finishes. However, if you're starting matches at 7:30 in the evening Australia time, and you're going to stick a best-of-5 men's match, and it goes 4 hours like it did here, you're not going to start the next match until close to midnight. So you've not made the changes you need. It needs to start either at 6 to 6:30 to mitigate it. But that's another matter. But no, Sabalenka was locked in. That's very good to see, especially after what happened at with the final in Brisbane, where she felt like she completely fell apart against Rybakina. Her opponent, unfortunately, was overruled, and Sabalenka did everything correct. Her serving was good, a couple of double faults here or there, but nothing out of the ordinary. Good forehands, good back forehand stroke was powerful, overruled her opponent, and it was unfortunate for the unqualified from Germany, because there was a point when she was 6-love, 3-love down, that she was crying on court because of how bad she felt it was all going, and it was. And the fact that she was able to, at least in that final service game, be able to get it over the line when she did, to be able to get
How did the crowd react to that, if there was anybody left?
The ones that left were really happy. They really wanted her to actually get that game, just because they did not want to sit there and see the world number 2 absolutely rip apart an 18-year-old 6-love. That is not good. I mean, it also shows a good the level between both those two players, because you think about it, Schneider is a qualifier, so she's at least somebody who's ranked around about at maximum 200 odd in the world. So this is still like a very good player. Like, you're one of the top 200 players in the world. You are a very good player. For her to for somebody who to be ranked that highly and still get beat in such a manner is. Yeah, well, at least it shows the sort of real gap between both of them and whatnot there.
Yeah, no, definitely. But Sabalenka, I'm not going to insult your intelligence by saying can she win it. Obviously, defending champion, but a lot of the pre-tournament narrative, particularly of what happened in the Brisbane final, Swiatek and Rebecca are kind of where everybody's thinking, which is strange because Sabalenka is the defending champion. So for you, is it still between those three?
I think it's. I'd add Coco Gauff to the mix. If any of those four players won the tournament, I would not be surprised. If any other player won the tournament, I would be surprised. Is the best way to describe it. Me personally, myself, I think it's going to be Rybakina who's going to win it, just because of the level that was shown in Brisbane. Yeah, granted, she kind of flunked out to Alexandrova, but I think she was just knackered anyway in Adelaide, and I don't know why she went. Just down to the fact that you've already played the week before. You don't need to play Adelaide. I know you want to probably win everything in Australia, but you don't need to do that. But no, yeah, it will be one of those four. I would not be surprised if any of those four win it. But for me, I think it'll be a Gauff Rybakina final, and I think Rybakina will win it.
Wow. Okay.
That was my prediction.
That is a bold prediction, and I like it. So neither Sabalenka nor Swiatek in the final. So you heard it here on the first night and the first last ball drops. That's what James is going for, and he's on at Tennis Ranter when you want to give him abuse when that doesn't come in. Staying with the ladies, Leylah Fernandez, picking back up a bit of form, had a decent end to last year. A lot of people have been asking, when is she going to kind of relive the US Open from a couple of years ago. Hasn't done too much since then, but yeah, a decent win against the qualifier from the Czech Republic, Bejic, 7-6, 6-2 in an hour and 33 minutes. Yeah, did you manage?
I will say she has done a little bit. I mean, just to counteract that, because she did win Monterrey, I think, the year after.
Oh, of course, yeah, okay,
and she won Hong Kong last year as well. So, and she got to the quarterfinals at the French Open, and after what happened with both of those two players, Raducanu and Fernandez in 21, I mean, it's going to take a long time for them to be able to refine any sort of major bit of top level form. Look, it's a good win for Fernandez. It's an expected win for Fernandez. On paper, it's the 32nd seed against a qualifier. You'd expect the 32nd seed to see off the qualifier. First set, the Czech player did take it to a tiebreaker, but then the quality of Fernandez shone through in the second. Quite a comfortable win in the end, and on to the second round for Leylah.
And where do you think she can go then, James? In terms of this run now, as I said, picking up a little bit of form. Can she? I know you're talking about the top four. You'd be surprised if anybody else win it. I'm not saying that Leylah Fernandez can go in and win it, but does she have the game that could cause any of these players, these four? I don't know. I can't remember what side of the draw she's in. But can she cause? I'd assume it'll be the Sabalenka or the. But yeah, can she cause any of these players problems? I'll find out the draw while you look into that.
I don't think she would cause the top four any problems currently, but she certainly could. She certainly is a player that if you're seeded 5 downwards, you do not want to see in your side of the draw realistically, because she will be tricky. She gets lots of balls back. She's a ball player. She's very much in this tournament. I'd be surprised if she doesn't make seeding in terms of making sure she definitely gets to the third round. There is the possibility she could get to the fourth round, but she will play a top 8 seed before in that third round match. So at that point, it's
Coco Gauff actually. I'm just looking at the draw now. So she's
not losing to Gauff. She's not losing to Gauff in the third round. I'm sorry, she's not losing to Gauff in the third round. I know it's going to get clipped, and if that happens, I know
she's not losing. I thought you just told me Gauff was going all the way to the final.
I did. As I was saying, she's not losing to Gauff. Hang on. Goff's not losing to Fernandez.
Right. Okay. Right. Sorry, I thought you were
yeah.
saying she's not losing to Goff. She's beating Goff.
No, sorry. Goff isn't losing to Fernandez.
Right.
At this
We got
stage in
there.
their careers, that's not happening. No.
Well, first of all, she has to get through Lisa Parks, who had a really good win today. She came back from a set down against a Ukrainian qualifier. I'm going to butcher this name as I usually do. It's Sneaker.
Sneaker. Yeah.
Was that good? Was that decent? She lost the first set 6-2 and then won second set 6-2, 6-4. So she will face Leila Fernandez in the next round. That one should be a really good matchup.
Should be. I mean, Parks has been a bit on and off, over the past. She's been a bit on and off. I mean, since the February period last year. I mean, I remember watching. Funny enough, I was in Lyon for the 250 event that took place the year when she won it last year, and I saw a quarterfinal match. And she's a person with a huge game in terms of really strong serve. It's and that really can get her a lot of free points. But she's had a bit of some on-off performances over the last few weeks and a few months. It's good to see her get the win. You'd expect it to be a qualifier, but it'll be a much tougher contest against Fernandez in the second round.
Yeah, and as I say, that could potentially set up a third round meeting for the winner of that against Coco Gauff. So a really decent side of the draw, that one. Staying with very quickly with the ladies, and then we'll move on to a couple of the guys' games because there's been a couple of 5-setters and TIFO came through a tricky tie. But
there is one I want to mention very quickly that was on Kia Arena, and that was Anisimova, who's coming back from her injury. Coming back from taking
good point.
Beating the 13th seed Samsonova. That has to be the biggest upset of the day. As a result, it's great to see Anisimova back on the court. I really like watching her. I was able to watch her in Wimbledon a couple of years ago, beat Goff on centre court. That was excellent to see at the time, and for her to be able to take out Ludmilla, who's Ludmilla's had a really good season last year. Granted, it's not been so great at the start of the Aussie swing, but it is still fantastic to see Anisimova get the win and get through to the second round there.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. She took a bit of time out, and quite openly was talking about, her mental health was taking a bit of a hit with the kind of tennis landscape. I think I watched a little bit in Adelaide. If she was there, I sometimes don't register what tournament I'm watching, but I definitely watched one of her matches, and she looked pretty good. So back to a bit of form, and again another dangerous player on the ladies' side of things.
I probably expect her to certainly get back by the end of the year into the top 30 like she was before she left the tour. Nice shout there. I was going to just mention Magda Linette had to retire against Caroline Wozniacki. That's going to be quite a drop in points, of course, reaching the semi-finals last year. But again, Caroline Wozniacki, a decent kind of result for her in terms of getting through that one. She's got to be happy with that. Yeah, should be fairly happy with that. I mean, she was able to get a hampered opponent and now takes the position of the 20th seed in the draw, which will be really helpful for Caroline on this run that she's hoping to try and put forward. And she's played really good tennis, getting the ball all over the court, really moving Magda around. And it's just a real shame for Magda that she's not going to drop a ton of points now. Probably drop around about to 40 or 50 in the world, I suspect. Once the live rankings start working from tomorrow afternoon, from those semi-final points that she'll end up dropping. And it always seems to be the way with Magda that she's the one that can cause one of the biggest stories on this first Sunday of a Grand Slam. I know a couple of years ago she beat. She beat Ons Jabeur on literally the first match that took place on the French Open on the Sunday when everyone thought Ons was the main challenger to Iga in that whole tournament. It's kind of opening up a little bit on the ladies' side of things. I mean, I know we've got a whole bunch of players still to come, but it's always an interesting watch in the early rounds with the ladies. Frances Tiafoe. Very, very tricky tie. He managed to come through. He was last up on the Margaret Court Arena. To be honest, I thought this one had 5-setter. He was up against Borna Koric, and he managed to come through in 4. As I said, I thought this one had 5-setter, 4 hours, 5 hours, written all over it.
But did you manage to catch any of that? How's Francis looking? He's certainly confident he wants to win the Australian Open. Whether or not he will do that remains to be chatted about and seen. But yeah, Francis Tiafoe, big foe. How did he get on?
Yeah, I mean, he was really unlucky to actually draw Coric. I mean, Coric is a top 40 player, and he was one of those few players that didn't get the unseeded, who was unseeded and being one of those high players. So it was always going to be a tough opener. I think seeing it off in 4 is pretty good for Francis. I mean, there was a tight tiebreaker in the second set as part of that. I didn't get a chance to see much of the performance, but no, it's a good win for Tiafoe. I know he's had. At the back end of last season, he had absolutely no form whatsoever, and he didn't look entirely good in the 2 warm-up tournaments, or at least certainly in the Hong Kong warm-up tournament that he was also a part of in in January. And good for him to get the win. We know he's a big stage player. Funny enough, I just recently watched his episode with Taylor Fritz on the Breakpoint series. So it's you can certainly tell that when it comes to the big events, and especially the American events, okay, this is the Australian event, and he does still turn up for Australia. That he will play his absolute best.
Yeah, no, and seamless link there. I was going to bring up Taylor Fritz. Looked in a little bit of trouble at points in his match, but he managed to come through at 5 sets in the end against Diaz Acosta. Again, I know it's hard with the time and the amount of matches that are on. I caught bits and bobs of it when I would flick the channel between Wild and then Djokovic. So yeah, Taylor Fritz, he had an exit to Popperin last year, which was a bit of a shock at the time. Obviously a homeboy Popperin, but Taylor Fritz, number 12 seed, 5 sets. You don't want 5 sets in your first round, do you?
No, this continues a bit of a concerning trend with Taylor, which is he's not doing well at slams at the moment. When it comes to, like you say, he was able to get to the quarterfinals of the US Open last year, but the year before that, he got knocked out in the first round. Last year, getting knocked out to Popperin quite early on, only really got to the third or the fourth round at the French. Wimbledon was a little bit of a dud as well for him this year. When it comes to these big tournaments, especially as the American number 1 being the main one leading the charge in these events, he's not showing up at the moment, and we're getting a lot of these results where if you're an unseeded player, you're having a look at Taylor and thinking you can have a real pop at him, and that's exactly what Facundo Diaz Acosta did here. I mean, Facundo isn't, it's not as though he's a natural hard courter. He's an Argentinian clay courter, but he was able to bring that sort of style to the courts of the John Cain Arena, and it was just really disappointing for me in this match that because of how tight it was, and especially near the end, that it all ended with Taylor just getting the last possible break he could, or the second last possible break he could, to be able to win the match 6-4. Because in those sorts of scenarios, you want it to realistically go to a match tiebreaker, because that's how you feel like it feels like it should end. But yeah, I mean, good for Taylor to be able to see it out. I'm concerned about him further on down the line. A 4-hour match now. People are going to see that he's very vulnerable at certain points. They're going to attack his vulnerabilities, and they'll certainly want to take that 12 seeding spot off him earlier on.
No, I think that's it's good to round up. I'm just having a quick look at one of the tweets. I'm sure I saw a tweet about Taylor Fritz. He says he thinks he's got a target on his back. That's what I wanted to say from the Netflix episode that you had watched. I've not watched Breakpoint yet. I'm still debating whether or not to watch Breakpoint, if I'm being honest. But I did see in one of the somewhere I read that he thinks he's got a target on his back because he's a top player. Would you say that's true? Taylor Fritz. I mean, how does it work? Do they go, okay, this guy's a top 10 or a top 12? Surely everyone's going into these matches and just wanting to win.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of a target on your back, I mean, and if you've got a number against your name, you're going to have a target, on your back in terms of, you're a seeded player.
Yeah.
You're the 12th seeded player. Djokovic has a target on his back. I was saying Leila Fernandez, who's the 32nd seed, she's got a target on her back. Because you're the player in front of the majority of the other players, you're, of course, going to have a target on your back as people want to be able to beat you and overtake you. That's this sport. It's all about getting the better results than anyone else, getting the higher ranking than anyone else, and then as such getting the easier draws at the early stages of the tournament than anyone else in the process. And to say just from one Netflix episode that he has this target, especially it was in the last season, I find that a bit strange. And if that's really starting to have an effect on him now, especially as he's now somebody who's been certainly a top 20 player for the last 2 years. It feels utterly bizarre because every top 20 player people want to beat because they want to get into the top 20 and then the top 10 themselves.
Yeah, no, it's a bit of a naive, and like you say, for the last couple of years, I'd say, Taylor Fritz has probably had a target on his back since Indian Wells 2 years ago when he beats Nadal in that final when he's injured. So yeah, Taylor Fritz, and it's not as if it's anything new that the top players and the guys that are getting, beating big players all then become, people want to beat them as well. So no, it's like you say, it's nothing new, which I thought was a very naive thing to say. Other matches to note from the first 8. Marushan beating Cilic. Now, Damien had Cilic going to the quarterfinals. So Damien, he thought Marin Cilic was coming through that one.
Sorry, Damien, what were you on? He's always barely played any tennis. And Marushan just had a decent week a couple of weeks ago, I believe, if I remember correctly, and he's getting a couple of wins.
Yeah.
Sticking him in the quarters. He's barely played.
It's all on record. So if you go back to like yesterday's ATP Weekly, you will see. I think he was basically saying it out of a little bit of hope rather than concrete belief. But Marushan 6-1 in the first set. It was a topsy-turvy match, wasn't it? 6-1 in the first set. Cilic won the second 6-2, and then Marushan 6-2 at 7-5. I do like Marushan. I'll be honest, it came onto my radar after that Alcaraz win last year. So yeah, I do like when I watch him play because he varies it so much. I like the drop shot and bringing it in. Another player that I've got hope for. Are those hopes misguided, James?
No, okay. It was quite a big win he got against Alcaraz in that Rome match. It completely took everyone by surprise. But no, Fabian's just doing the usual bits that you'd expect from a young player, making his way through the rankings. Really, he's made his way through the challenges, got himself into some main tour events, starting to get some wins in those main tour events. Whatever his ceiling can be, certainly potentially top 30. I'm not entirely sure if he could get top 20 though, or not there. But certainly as a mainstay of the tour, he has a future to be able to get. Yeah.
Other ones, JJ Wolf had to retire. He was 2-1 down. Big 7 JJ Wolf and against Sebastian Baez. So again, Baez will be pleased to get that done and dusted. What were you going to say?
Baez will need that win. He's not in any great shape or form. He got absolutely chopped up by Draper in Adelaide last week, and it's certainly to be able to get even with a retirement, it'll just give Baez a little bit more confidence, especially as he's going into maybe not this tournament's lawn he's going to care about, but certainly going into next month when the South American swing kicks back off again, when the South American swing kicks off for the main tour, he's got points, he's got a title just for defending Cordoba, and he'll want to go far in Buenos Aires and Rio. This will be good to be able to start building up some confidence before going into those tournaments.
Yeah, definitely. On the outside courts as well, Quinton Halys, is that how you say it?
Quinton Halys.
Halys, famously had a decent run at Wimbledon.
Beat
he beat Lloyd Harris in a 4-setter. He lost the first set 7-6, 7-5, 7-6. It sounds like that one was a bit of a serve fest. Where else?
They're two big servers, both those two. So it's no surprise that there's a couple of tiebreakers in that match.
Yeah. Get your money on that. Please gamble responsibly. And then Jodie Burrage bageled in the final set. I took the first set as well. Did you see any Jodie Burrage's match?
No, but Jodie, unfortunately, as you can probably guess, we're both Brits, so we kind of follow the British players a little bit more than we would any sort of other sort of player ranked, 90 odd in the world. She's not really had a great Aussie swing. She got to the second round of the Challenger in Canberra in the first week, and then failed to get past the first qualifying round for Hobart last week. So, coming into this tournament, Korpatch also beat her in Cluj in the Transylvania Open before, just in October as well. So there was already a bit of form, and Korpatch proving a little bit confident against Jodie. It's really good to see her take the first set. But Jodie's one of those players where she can, when she's on and when she plays really well, she can beat anyone, and her shots are outstanding. But if her mindset goes slightly off, you get a situation where it's double faults galore, it's mistakes galore, the whole job lot, and you get 6-love sets placed against her. And it's a real shame that she wasn't able to really capitalize in this period. I think this was the second tournament that she was able to get to on her rankings alone, not having to worry about wildcards to get into the event or go through qualifying. And again, this is a tournament that she hasn't really showed up in, or a swing where she's not really shown up in. And hopefully she'll dust herself down, take all the feedback she can do from these tournaments, and then go and hopefully get some form back picked up in the February tournaments afterwards.
Yep. Okay. And we'll wrap up very, very soonish. A couple of reasons, because my laptop battery is running low and the charger's downstairs, and I'm starting to have a bit of a panic. But before we do it, I realised I hadn't mentioned Jannik Sinner, of course, kicking things off on the Rod Laver Arena. A big favourite amongst many people. Sinner being Botic van der Schulschup, 6'4", 7'5", 6'3". Sinner. He's it's pretty much surely, I don't want to write his own death warrant, but surely it's nailed on that he's going to make at least the semi-finals, given the form he's been in recently.
Yeah, I mean, not to give another one of my predictions away, I've got him winning the tournament on my brackets. I don't know how, but I've ended up having Sinner winning the event. And again, it was another player that it was a little bit unlucky to actually draw. I mean, okay, so he's around about ranked 59 in the world at the moment, but was as high as 50. I mean, Botic is a very good player, and it could have been easily, that match could have been a lot more tougher than it ended up actually being in the end. Pretty comfortable, straight sets at 2.5 hours, 2 days off, go again next, and it's a good match to be able to blow away some cobwebs of his first proper match of the season.
Yeah, no, definitely. Just exactly how we want to start this, and I've got a wee sneaky suspicion for him as well. It's going to be exciting. 2 other matches I was going to mention just quickly. Sakari, obviously second up. She won 6-4, 6-1.
Which is really good, because the way Sakari has completely capitulated at the start of slams in recent history, to get a win, to get a good win as well, that is really promising to see, and I'm really pleased for her.
Yeah, and Thomas Mashak, he'll be playing Tiafoe next. He won 7-5, 6-1, 7-5. He's he's making waves, isn't he? And
he is. He was lethal in the Challenger circuit in autumn, and I know Damien will have a lot of stats on the hatch there. I beat 2 Brits in 2 of the finals, which I was a bit annoyed about, but we'll gloss over that. But yeah, really good thing for Mahatch. Straight sets victory there against Motten. I mean, it's against Mochinucci. He's doing really well. The Japanese player. I'm surprised it was as comfortable as that, but Mahatch is really sort of showing his form there. If I could just quickly mention a couple of interesting results that I found as well.
Go for it. Yeah, that's why we're here.
So one of them being in the court 6, the Sararas Ribes Tormo losing to Corneva. Corneva, just to give everyone a bit of context, won the girls singles title this time last year. She beat Mira Andreeva in the final. So it was really, it's really promising to see her that not only did she qualify for the event, and she's got a singles ranking already of 180 in the world, but she's also now won her first round match, especially against Sararas Ribes Tormo, who is a very tricky player to play. I mean, first of all, I'm surprised that match didn't go 3 hours, knowing Sararas Ribes Tormo, but the fact that she was able to get that win for the girl is excellent to see. And then the other interesting result is Shevchenko losing to Jal Munar. Is the other one in straight set, 6-3, 6-3, 6-1 on court 3. Shevchenko had a really good end to the season last year. Got to the final, I believe it was in Metz, losing to Ugo Humbert in that match. And then also getting some good wins and some good runs on the indoor circuit. He hasn't really translated to the start of this season at the moment, so it's been a bit. Although I had Shevchenko winning this match and losing the next round, I'm surprised that Jal Munar, who's predominantly a clay courter again, and who's more looking forward to February in the clay courts in Argentina than he is actually looking forward to the hard courts in Australia. For him to then get such a convincing victory against Shevchenko is a slight worry for Shevchenko, but hopefully, Shevchenko can be able to pick something up from there, because he is the next big big promise in the men's game for Russian tennis at the moment.
Yeah, no, and Munar, of course, from the fraternity of the Rafa Nadal Academy as well, isn't it? He's in one of the, I think I watched at one time a documentary on Prime about the Nadal Academy. If you're as sad as me, give it a watch. I think we could finish up.
Awesome. You got to watch them all. You got to watch them all as much as you can.
You what?
Tennis documentaries. You got to watch as much as you can. Really get to know the game.
Content. Hello, Jake. Good follower of the Talking Tennis stream. Is there anything else we may have missed? As John mentioned, the Bergs Tsitsipas match will be live streamed tonight. We think about 2 a.m. UK time. I believe that's what he's meaning. GMT said it. And Garcia Osaka. Sorry.
I like Zizou, so I think it could be a match between Tsitsipas. I think Zizou could take a set.
Okay. Okay. I'm loving these predictions, James. I'm loving them. But
I'm just banging them out.
You don't care.
Left, right.
You go against the grain. And then Garcia, which is going to be an absolute blockbuster. I think I saw Kyrgios and one of the contents that the Australian Open Father called this match a brutal tie. Osaka Garcia, that'll be good. That's on at 10 a.m. I was going to say to yourself, just to answer maybe Matthew's question at the end, what is the must-watch for tomorrow for you, James?
Oh, the must-watch tomorrow. Let me quickly get up the order of play just to make sure that I am not saying a match that doesn't.
That's not even on.
Yeah, I don't want to say that. I think for me, looking through it, I think you got Garcia Osaka. That's a banger. That's what I certainly want to watch. Auger-Aliassime team, 2 players who are not in great form but can play really well. That could be an interesting one as well. The one as a Brit I'm going to keep an eye out for is Murray versus Echeverry, and seeing how far past 5 hours that match is going to go. We can probably guess on that one there. I mean, Batista Agut, Ben Shelton, that would be an interesting match. Batista Agut is getting a bit more consistency back at the moment. Just running through at the moment to see.
Demon or Raonic, or you're not interested in that one?
Raonic, not really.
No, didn't think so.
Not at the moment. I mean, the guy. I don't know what he's doing. He's not really doing anything on the tour. I mean, it's not like Murray, who was able to get some consistency after coming back. He's just playing the old tournament and then just going, yeah, okay. He looked after losing first round or something there. But barring that, I can't really see. I mean, I know Eubanks could be a potential risk of going out against Tara Daniel. Of course, Daniel was in the final of Auckland not 2 days ago, so he comes in with a bit of form as well. And yeah, I think that's all that. Do you have any matches in which you're looking forward to at all?
I'm just trying to think of more obscure ones where there might be a little bit of interest in. I was just looking on the ladies' side. I think Taylor Townsend Badosa, that one could be decent. Just in terms, again, where are these 2 players? But it could be fun. Hadid Maya, she plays for Drova, and I'm trying to think where else. I saw one. Arani Sanders again, just a bit of intrigue in that. I think it'll be a fun match to watch. And on the men's side, what will I go? Let me pick something that you've not picked.
I found one more.
Let's go for it.
Manarino Wawrinka. That will be an interesting contest between those two. It's just before Murray Echeverry. I could see Manarino Wawrinka also. I was going to 4 or 5 hours on that one.
I thought you were going to say Shapovalov Jakub Menchik. Did you see that?
That will be a horrible match. It will be unforced errors galore. I am not interested.
He's not watching it. Well, don't tune in tomorrow for James's take on Shapovalov Menchik, because he won't have watched it. But yeah, no, that's been good. That's been fun looking back on day 1 of the Australian Open. We still have 14 more days to go, because of course it's a 15-day Grand Slam. But yeah, no, I appreciate your time, James. It's been a fun chat. But yeah, let's do it again over the next couple of weeks. All right.
Absolutely, it's brilliant.
Good man. See you later.
See you later.
See ya.